How can I make the most of my motions in limine?
Motions in limine are funny. And I say they're funny in part because you will sometimes hear a trial judge or someone trying to assist on settlement that the strength of your case is inversely related to your motions and the number of motions in limine. So if you have a great case, you might have very few motions in limine. If you have a more challenging case, you may have lots and lots and lots of motions in limine. I don't know that that's necessarily true. However, it's sometimes raised, particularly if you end up having a lot of motions in limine. Some judges are great about motions in limine and reading all the papers. Some judges find them frustrating and will get upset if you give them too many motions in limine. My view is it is best to presume that you will have a hardworking judge who may have too much paper to deal with, and so you should be as judicious as possible in your motions in limine. By judicious, what do I mean? I mean that you want to make sure that you don't overwrite them, bullet points, big headings, and clarity on exactly what you want so that the court understands exactly what you're asking for. And really question whether this is something that requires a motion in limine, or is it something that can be done another way. A lot of times with motions in limine, the court will punt on them, saying, I don't have enough context, I can't make a decision until it comes up in court. If that's the case, a request that, if it's your motion, that there be no reference to this issue until it comes up before the court, because you don't want to have to try and unring the bell. The same is true on motions in limine. The same is true on Sargon motions. Most people at this point know that Sargon is California's version of Daubert. These relate to expert witnesses and the judge's gatekeeper function to keep completely spurious expert opinions out of court. The Sargon motions can be very effective at containing experts when an expert is trying to provide something as an opinion which is really a fabrication or lacking in fact or proof. Oftentimes, judges will respond to Sargon motions with, I, again, don't have enough information. I need a hearing in order to be able to make a decision about this. The final piece on motions in limine and making them as effective as possible, I think that the best points I've ever seen on this come from Anjay Medina, an attorney at Altair. She talked about a case that she had. It was a very challenging case. It was a tragic death case of somebody in a SRO hotel where the defense argument was that the person had been a hoarder and that the fire that had resulted in this individual's death was a result of this person having too much stuff. That's an oversimplification, but it was an uphill battle in telling the story of the damages and some of the liability pieces. Anjay, at the very beginning of the case, determined which pieces were going to be damaging to her, and then crafted her discovery around that and the jury instructions and the evidentiary rules and worked backward from there. So her motions in limine, she was already writing at the very beginning of the case. And I know that this is a way that many lawyers may think about cases, but Anjay was the first person who I saw really articulate that. I start at the very beginning and I think about what evidence am I going to keep out and how am I going to keep it out, as well as what evidence am I going to get in and how am I going to keep it in. And I'm going to craft my discovery that way. So if you think about your motions in limine at the beginning of the case, then you're much more likely to contain the evidence and do it the way where the other side cannot get out of the box by the time you're getting to the point at which the judge is making rulings on motions in limine. Hopefully this has been helpful for folks, and particularly if you're getting ready for trial. If there are questions that you have on this or other areas, we'd be happy to address them. Hit us at podcast@coopers.law with any questions, comments, feedback you might have for the show. If you found this helpful, we would love your 5-star review, and we'd love for you to share this with anyone who you think might find it beneficial, particularly folks who are getting ready for trial. So to all of you doing justice out there, happy hunting.